Oh, okay, we got a league match. It's against legendary Croatia. It's actually a pretty important league match, really, for a few reasons. So one, uh, it's because they're above us in the league, and realistically, if we don't beat them, well, who said? I mean, I wouldn't say we couldn't catch them, but obviously, it's a very important match to win. If we want to catch and overtake them. Critical match to not lose, especially as well. Next important reason is because we have now officially gone 13 matches without losing, which equals our club record. So if we don't lose this match, then we break our record number of matches without losing. And then the third reason is that last time we played them, they beat us 7-0. So lots of reasons to want to do well. So let's see what we can do here. Just going to start the match off, see how it goes. Decided to use the holding midfielder this time around, more balanced tactic. We can transition into something more attacking. I didn't really anticipate dominating the start of this match of basically. So it made sense to start more defensive and allow us to transition into something more attacking or more defensive afterwards, depending on obviously what we need to do. Now I'm just going to pause it, take stock. It's quite a balanced match so far. Last 10 minutes they are outplaying us though, so they're really starting to outplay us a lot actually. Just see what happens over the coming minutes. What I want to do is increase the tempo, but I don't want to do that whilst we're being outplayed. Seems to have balanced back up. Maybe I don't want to increase the tempo because they are fitter than us. And they're already playing with fast tempo themselves. I think all in all, right now we're in an advantageous position, or at least with the score at 0-0, because we can make the subs. No idea, this user's online all the time when we're requesting a match. I have no idea how we didn't play this, because look, he seems to play all of his other matches online, and whenever we're online requesting a match, he's pretty much always online, so must have just been incredibly unlucky. Speaking of incredibly unlucky, that is just game changing for us. Wow. Yeah, definitely at a disadvantage now. I'm pretty sure we actually got a red card against them last time as well. It might be our only 2 red cards of the season. I've just left it to be clear because there's basically nothing that I can do without making a substitution, and we don't want to use a substitution yet. It's too early. Yeah. They've really grabbed the upper hand in this match. Sends the red card, and we've got the half time. So let's think. We've got lots of pause times. We've got a lot of time to think about this. So the first key point is we can't afford to have Nguyen sent off as well. That's clear. So I think he's got to be subbed off now. So it's just what for, really. And I think at this point, it's like, just thinking, because it's like realistically, we should be trying to win this, but also one non-loss away from breaking the club record. At the end of the day, you just got to play to win competitions, don't you? Not set club records. So let's do that. So we'll stay attacking, relative attacking, given that we're a man down. And I think we just kind of got, I'm just going to pause it, we've kind of got to just stay on top of this match as much as possible, so I feel like we've got to make another sub now or very soon. I think I'll wait till about the 53rd minute, 54th minute, so very soon. Hope we don't concede. Now, and it'll be Arellano for Reese. So staying quite attacking. Got loads of forwards time. Just going to quickly pause it. So basically, the lack of a goal and the fact that we're kind of contesting this match still, I think we just got to leave it. Definitely can't afford to do a third sub yet, because it just opens up the possibility. I mean, if they score, we'll do the third sub straight away, but right now it's just not worth the risk. So I think we just, if we adjust to any other tactic without doing a sub, it'll just be an inefficient tactic really for the personnel on the pitch. And we can't do the third sub this early, and a hand's not been forced because they haven't scored. So yeah. Alright, now okay. Now nothing. Something we have to sort out actually. We need time for more time for goal celebrations, so that it can't really happen. The moment the restart after a goal is pretty much too quickly, basically, way too quickly. We don't have enough time for players to be running around and diving and celebrating their goals. So fortunately for us, that means that we didn't get time to pause it and change stuff tactically. Even though the changes quite often take a minute to apply, so even if we did it, we might not have applied in time anyway before they scored. Going to quickly pause it because we've got the time. I feel like we're getting towards a stage where it is worth the risk reward to make the third sub. So I think it's about now. So yeah, we're going to do it. So it's done. And gonna pause it and just think about this one for a second. Right, they got the upper hand basically, so it doesn't make sense to increase the tempo. We could press just for these closing stages, I guess that makes sense. We got the three fresher players on the pitch, two really fresh players, overall a bit of condition on them. I think that one makes sense. Even though they're playing direct ball. Unfortunately, that means they get a fresh player on the pitch. Well, I don't know. I think, considering that red card, I think it's a good result, basically. Last time we got a red card, we lost 7-0, so didn't get a chance to react. But then realistically, I don't know what we could have done anyway, to be honest. Question is, if we could have paused it, would have we used our third sub in the 67th minute? Probably not, so probably would have made no difference anyway. Would have been too early. Too early basically, when you're already a man down, when just wouldn't wait. Would have been the reward. The reward was basically to be able to play more defensively. And we don't even know if that would have been a good thing for us, and the risk would have been massive. So in relative terms. So definitely, yeah, we definitely would have waited regardless. Couldn't really change our tactic to anything without making it inherently suboptimal. So yeah, I think that was a bit. It doesn't really matter. We could have potentially. I don't think we could have potentially started pressing a little bit earlier, but you're talking like 1 or 2 or 3 minutes. So probably 1 minute, maybe 2. So I think not a big deal really. You gotta be realistic about. I mean, quite often, obviously, you lose or win matches because you do stuff 1 second or 1 minute too late. But yeah, got to be realistic and reasonable here. But I think maybe that was one small thing. Big thing is that this player obviously had a yellow. He was on a yellow, so we were carrying a risk. Yeah. Could have been prevented, we could have subbed him off, could have eased off the tackling for a team. So then the question is, realistically, would you do it? Like, realistically. If you're going to do it before the 36th minute, let's be realistic about this for a second. The only time that you without a goal being scored, or without any other event happening to change the game state, to make you think about anything, realistically, if you were going to do this change before the 36th minute, with nothing else having happened, realistically, the only time you would have actually done it is straight after he got it, which was the 11th minute. So, realistically, would you sub off a player if they get a yellow in the 11th minute? No. It's a short answer there, I believe. So, okay, maybe not. Let's expand this a bit. So was it because there's quite a long time window here, actually, between the 11th and the 36th, despite nothing happened. So actually, could we Should we? Is there any reason why it would have made sense to sub him off before the 36th minute? And the answer to that is actually kind of interesting. So there is the possibility that we could have subbed him off for Sosa. Now Sosa can't play out a whole match, but he can play out about 60 minutes, 65 minutes, 60 minutes. It's typically when we'd sub him off if he starts. So actually, yeah, around the 30 to somewhere after the 30th minute, but before the 36th minute, somewhere in that range, we could have subbed him off. It could have been a viable and actual proper optimal choice to have subbed him off for Sosa between the 30th and the 36th minute to have de-risked that card. And actually also Sosa has a significantly higher average rating than Pereira as well this season, has played better. It's actually a totally viable decision that we could have done. I think, bearing in mind here, because the red card, the fact that it happened on the 36th minute, it might not have happened at all, right? Or it might have happened in the any other minute, right? But all the question is was there a reason to make this sub? And I think actually, yeah, there was. Realistically, at any point after the 30th minute, it was a viable option to sub on Sosa for Pereira. And actually, given the risk that we were carrying, the fact that he could pick up the red and that would have basically destroyed our whole game plan, combined with the fact that he was also the weakest player that we had on the pitch, actually. So he's the weakest player we had on the pitch. The substitute who come on is a materially better player materially better, as in better by an actual margin that is measurable. And yeah, I think that was a mistake, and I think basically what we should have been thinking at the point where he got that yellow card, in actual fact it was a significant event really. I think what should have happened is we should have thought, quickly paused it maybe, because basically the thought process should be, he's got a yellow card, how useful is that player for us on the pitch, as in regards to that specific player, and how much would it hurt if he got sent off? And then fine, it would hurt a lot if he got sent off actually, and him to be that specific player versus any other player that was on the substitutes bench, to be honest, it wasn't that necessary to have him on the pitch. And then the question should have been, fine, when is the earliest time that would make sense to sub him off? And the answer would have been the 30th minute. We should have subbed him off, I believe. So that was a mistake. And then the second part is actually with Nguyen. That was another mistake, a clear, obvious mistake, because if he should have been. Why wait? Why wait 3 minutes to sub him off? Like, it doesn't make any difference, really. Makes minimal difference versus how much massive difference this would have made if he also got the second yellow card and sent off. So actually the sub for Clark shouldn't have happened at half time, it should have happened straight after this yellow card, straight after. So this Pereira should have been subbed off around the 30th, just the 30th or just after the 30th minute. Nguyen should have been subbed off straight after this in the 45th minute, just before half time. So, and in a way that mistake here doesn't sound like much, it's just a few minutes, but in a way this mistake was actually even bigger than this mistake, I believe. more obvious. This should have just paused, subbed, done. Should have happened. Obvious, clear, 100% should have happened. And this one, it should have just happened. It's one of those ones where you just think, oh yeah, probably. The thing is, like, would have subbed him off at half time for sure, absolutely for sure. Would have subbed him off at half time. So what's the difference? 20 minutes earlier, and de-risk that possibility of a red card. It would have been worth it. Given, so yeah, two clear mistakes in this match, and I think realistically, given the magnitude of these mistakes, really, that's weird. It's like weird. This one is just huge and obvious, and in a way we deserve to have him sent off and deserve to be punished, so we could learn our lesson properly. But this one is a weird one because it's like, it's so obvious now after actually sitting back and thinking about it all this time, but in the moment it's just feels so like, yeah, you just wait till half time, not a big deal, and then and then if he gets sent off we can just complain about the fact that he got sent off in the first half, but actually, yeah, he shouldn't have been on the pitch for that minute. So the answer was, yeah, if he got sent off in the 29th minute, or any minute between the 11th and the 29th minute, then I think you could say, yeah, it's just bad luck. It's just how the cookie crumbles. There's nothing we realistically would have done about it. If he gets sent off in the 30th or the 31st or the 32nd minute, you're saying, well, we could be a bit harsh on ourselves, but probably realistically we're going to make that sub around the 30th minute mark, 30th, 31st, 32nd, 33rd, whatever. And if you just happen to get injured in the 31st minute, and we just happen to be thinking to make the sub in the 32nd minute, then that's just bad luck as well. It's just unfortunate, I think, just insanely unlucky. But actually, no, 36th minute is just like, he shouldn't be there anymore. He should have already been subbed off. So yeah, so we pretty much, I think these mistakes are big enough where you could say that we deserve to lose, really, and I guess we can just count ourselves fortunate that we didn't, really. I think that's what it comes down to. So I mean, we touched upon this before, so it's like, the fact that this red card happened doesn't have anything to do with whether the decision was correct or not correct. The only difference with the red card really is that it's brought the mistake to our attention. So subbing him off on the 30th minute or the 31st or the 32nd minute, around that time range, that was the correct thing to do, right? And subbing him off before that was the incorrect thing to do. That was the optimal decision. The fact that he got sent off here, isn't what caused the mistake. Right? The mistake was the mistake, whether this happens or not. So the fact that we leave him on the pitch and get to half time and then sub him off at half time, it doesn't mean it was the correct decision to sub him off at half time. It just means that we made a mistake and we weren't punished for it. That's all it means. So we played suboptimally, and the only significant thing about this red card in regards to talking about all this now really is probably what's the catalyst for us to have realised our mistake. Because every match, I'm sure we're talking and say, yeah, we're happy with what we've done, we feel like we haven't made many, yeah, whatever. We're making mistakes every match. Like, it's basically impossible to play optimally. That's the reality. It's just impossible. There's always something, at least one thing that you could have done different to have been more optimal, like, for sure, and replace one with hundreds of things. That's the reality. Like, it's just impossible to play optimal. But what you can do is try to play as optimally as you're able to, as you can, with what you can recognise, with the amount of time that you realistically can commit here. Because, like, what realistically, if you want to play optimal, what you should be doing is looking at every single one of the players on their team, on their bench, checking all of their attributes, checking their tactics, checking what they've played recently, checking all that, and checking your, because I keep playing it's a little bit easier for me because I'm playing a bit extreme. I have like extreme pace, so it's kind of doesn't make any sense to not. But most teams might have a bit of pace up front, whatever. But sometimes it'd be the correct decision that even if that's the case, that you might want to play really high defensive line just because their forwards are really slow, for example. So, you should be checking all of their players. You should be, before every match, every time you get a player unavailable for any reason and you have a tactic change forced upon you, like we have, because our right winger was missing, we should have resorted to playing a whole bunch of friendlies to try a whole bunch of different tactics out to see what we could do. There's so many things that we're doing suboptimal here. It isn't funny. So, and actually, overall, if you put us on the optimal scale, so to speak, compared to the average user, we're very, very, very high on that scale, I believe. So yeah, so basically, we would easily be one of the most optimal users, I think, when it comes to match playing. Definitely not in the other aspects of the game, that's for sure, like the transfer market, things like that. There's definitely users wheeling and dealing, so to speak, a lot more efficiently than we are, a lot more. But when it comes to actual match playing, just in isolation as one aspect of the game, we're very, very optimal or effective, I guess you could say, compared to average. We're one of the right near the top, and actually we're just making lots and lots, just countless mistakes. Every match almost without fail, it's pointing at mistake after mistake after mistake that we've done. So, the fact is we're one of the most optimal users in the game, and we're making what are essentially clear mistakes on a match-to-match basis as well. Ones that we can see, ones that we can identify. So that we got scope to improve. We can improve, but I think it just goes to show that that the scope for us to improve, we can, and we want to strive to, and we're always trying to. But actually, on the other end of the scale, the scope to improve is pretty significant here. I think for us, we're scraping for the odd point here or there. At the other end of the scale, you could be talking about material, pretty big, significant difference in your points tally in the season. We're scraping for points, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 points over the course of the season in our mistakes or correct choices. But I think, for other users, you could be talking 20 points, 30 points, potentially difference here. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you learnt something, and even if it's just that, I think this is a key one, really. This is a key lesson to have learned, that these early yellow cards are worth giving thought to. What the questions you need to ask yourself are: one, the specific player himself who has the yellow card, how actually important is he? Because if he's the worst player in your 11 on the pitch, then he's not that important. So, and then obviously his importance is also dictated by the fact of what substitute would you realistically bring on for him, how much of the match can that substitute realistically play at an optimal standard, and how better, or even in our case the substitute was actually better than the player on the pitch. But I guess in most cases the substitute would probably be slightly worse, and the decision's all a bit different. But you should be asking yourself all those questions as soon as a player picks up the yellow card. And actually, it's not something that we have tended to have done, but we will strive to do that going forwards. So alright, cheers, thanks for watching. Catch you for the next match. And I'll just point out that I have broken my club record, and I think, I'm not sure though, it might be it's updated. here, 20th of November today, new club record, 14 matches without losing over the past 8 days. So yeah, even in amongst our season of that's where we've won the league twice in a row. It's not been a great season compared to the last couple, but yeah, we're still breaking club records. So all right, cheers, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you for the next match. Cheers.